Hello everybody, totally relaxed here. Today I'm showing my face on the camera, which is something I don't usually do. I'm still kind of apprehensive about it for probably crazy reasons and silly reasons, but it is what it is, and I'd rather be behind the camera instead of in front of it. So anyway, today I want to say that I hope everybody's doing fine, hope everybody's healthy and happy and enjoying your trips around wherever you're at. And I want to talk to you today about my camper van named Honey. Long before I bought her, and after retiring in 2015, I jumped on the YouTube network and really got heavy with it in regards to watching RVing videos, and I was content with that. I really was. But then it really bit me in the butt so hard that I wanted to buy one myself, but I knew I couldn't. So as time went on, and fast forwarding to a later time, I thought about using my pickup truck to be a camper type vehicle. Well, since it's got 200,000 miles on it, although it's got new rubber on it all the way around, and it runs good, runs great, I was still real reluctant to take it out on a big road and, put all them many more miles on it for fear it might break down, especially knowing I didn't have any money to really deal with it. But unfortunately, 2 years ago, my mother passed away and left me and my siblings an even share of money, which wasn't a whole heck of a lot, but it enabled me to finally buy a van. Well, then I started looking real hard on Facebook Marketplace, online, and even on YouTube videos for vans I could possibly buy at a price where I'd still have money left over to do any repairs on it or update it when I bought it and what have you. Well, one night I was on Facebook Marketplace and I ran into the van I have now. And so I called the guy, and he was over, and he's probably about 30 miles across town from me, but he wanted me to come over, wanted to know if I come over and look at it that night. Well, it was already 9 o'clock here at that time, so I thought, well, I'm not doing anything, so, why not? So I did. I went over there, looked at it, and I learned years and years ago from my dad, you don't look at vehicles to buy at nighttime. There could be flaws that you can't see at nighttime, so therefore don't do it. But I did anyway because I was, curious. And it wasn't, it wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad looking van. Now, he did tell me it had been setting up for 8 years, and I knew I was going to have to put some work on it, and I was going to have to pay out, a substantial amount of money. But I will say this: so far, I have put new rubber. Well, let me back up. I took it to my original mechanic that I use all the time with my pickup, and he said, "Oh yeah," I said, "I'm kind of stacked up right now." He said, "Call me back in about 2 weeks." I said, "Okay." So I called him up, and he said, "Yeah, bring it on over, bring it on over." So I did. Told him what all I wanted to do with it, and so after about a month, I hadn't heard from him. So that made me kind of curious, so I drove over there, and the van's still sitting against the fence where I left it a month before. So he came out, and greeted me. Of course, Marco's a great guy. He's really a nice man. And I said, I thought you were going to get started on it relatively soon. Well, I've been busy, blah, 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 blah. And he said, see that van next to you? He said, it's been here for 2 months. And I said, well, are you going to get it fixed, get mine done before December? No, this was like in April. I believe it was April. Yeah, April. And he laughed, and I said, well, Marco, I don't think it's funny because, you told me to bring it on over. You gave me the impression it was going to be started to be worked on, pretty soon. And here a month later, you ain't even touched it. You haven't even moved it. So anyway, long story short, I moved the van. I had the van towed to a mechanic who owned a shop named Romero. In fact, he was He was suggested by my neighbor here on the property, so I took it over to him. Another nice man, very nice man. Well, long story short, I decided over there for 2 months. And what aggravated me the most about Romero was I asked him in the very beginning to keep me posted on the repairs he was making, and at the same time text me or call me, and let me know what the running total was for the repairs at the present time. Well, he never would do that. I guess he thought he was too, well, he was probably busy, and I'm sure he was, but I'm fixing to give the man a whole lot of money because I told him to fix everything from the ground up. Well, while I was over there, he did put new brakes all the way around, new brake shoes, the whole works, a new brake booster. I told him when I took it over, the headlights did not work. He fixed those. And I said, I just want everything electrically and mechanically fixed. Okay, great. Well, fast forward 2.5 months, I went and picked it up, and also the side windows didn't open. So when I got it back, the first place I took it to was the Discount Tire, and I had brand new tires put all the way around it, and I bought a spare as well. From there, I went to the station, had it inspected, got that done, and then a few days later, I made an appointment with National Tire and Battery to have the front end pretty much replaced because, the vehicle's at 1989, so, I'm sure it needed a lot of work. So it sat over there for 3.5 weeks. They're dragging their butt about it and, saying that they can't get parts, and the parts they are getting, they're sending them the wrong parts. And I asked him one day, I said, well, you can't buy parts from other people. There are parts houses all over Houston. Oh, no, our company won't let us do it, but in one place. I said, well, whatever. Well, I'm stuck like Chuck because they've already got it over there, pretty much tore apart. Okay, so I finally got through that ordeal, and I get it back home, only to find out that they fixed the windows that wouldn't roll up and down before, but the driver's window, to get it down, you had to push the up button. To get it up, you had to push the down button. And then I started having problems with it starting. Romero told me that they had taken the gas tank off, cleaned it out, and replaced the fuel pump because it needed replacing. Well, needless to say, they didn't do that either. They lied to me. So anyway, after 3.5 weeks at National Tire and Battery, I finally get it home, and I'm sitting here and, trying to get it decorated and everything done on the inside. And in the meantime, my great RV guy, John, with Cornerstone RV Repair, put in a new floor, and he did a bunch of other stuff to it. I mean, I love the guy. He's great. He's wonderful. Had no problem with him whatsoever. He was Johnny on the spot, took my credit card each time, and, I can't say enough good about him. So anyway, I started having troubles with it starting again. Only this time it wouldn't start at all. After about 4 days of this, I said, well, this is baloney. So I called this mobile tech guy. Of course, John he doesn't work on motors and that sort of thing. So I found a mobile tech guy that was within about 3 miles of my house. His name's Brian. So he said, I'll be right over. So about 30 minutes later, Brian shows up. Now, he pulls up in an ambulance he's using as a work truck, which, okay, whatever, And he diagnoses my van, and he's saying, well, you got a problem with your fuel pump. And I'm thinking, duh, I knew that. So what he does, he goes back, I follow him back to his work truck, or ambulance, whatever you want to call it, a work vehicle. The inside of that thing looks like a hurricane went through it. And I'm thinking, well, okay, I guess that's the way he likes to work. Who is for me to judge? So anyway, he takes back to my van the length of 2 wires, a black and a red wire, that will stretch from my front battery all the way to the rear of the van where the gas tank is. He charged the, I guess that's the word he used. He charged the fuel pump, or primed it, that's the word, primed it. And the van started. And he told me, he said, now, if you have problems with it later on, he said, just turn the key on, leave it on for about 4 or 5 seconds, turn it off, turn it back on for 4 or 5 seconds, and turn it back off again for 4 or 5 seconds. Do this about 4 times and it should start. Well, that worked for a few times. But after about 2 weeks, it got to where it didn't want to start again at all. So I called him up. It was like 8:30 at night, and told him what was going on, and I really had to get it fixed. He said, well, I'm going to have to take it to the shop to really diagnose it and do it right. I said, well, that's fine. That's fine. He said, I'll be over in 30 minutes. Well, an hour and a half later, he shows up with his wrecker, his flat top wrecker. Well, in the meantime, the van started. Crazy, but yeah, it started. And the lights were running when he got there, and so he drove the van to his shop. Like I said, it was about 3 miles away. I followed him over in my pickup. We left his wrecker on my property. Well, we dropped the van, and the thing is, I had to give him a $300 deposit. He does not take credit cards, and he only wants cash, and he won't give you a written receipt. Well, the first time he wouldn't do that, I seen the flags go up, but I needed to get the van fixed, and the guy looked like he knew what he was doing. I mean, he's a sharp guy when it comes to being a mechanic. So anyway, I give him the $300, reluctantly, without a receipt. That's where the saga really begins. The real problems began. He told me up front it would give him at least a month, because that's what he tells all of his customers, so as they don't blow his phone up, as he put it. His words, okay? All right, that's fine. I've dealt with all this mess for several months already with the van. I mean, what's another month, Well, 3 weeks into, 21 days exactly, I texted him one day. I hadn't called him. I hadn't texted him. I hadn't heard from him either. So 21 days after it went to his shop, I texted him one morning and asked him what the status was on the van. Well, he blasted me with a text right back, telling me that he had already told me it'd be a month and blah, 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 and he had been sick, and because of the weather, he couldn't work on the vehicles that he had, and, just excuses left and right over and over. Well, okay. So I went ahead and waited another rest of the time for the month that he mentioned to elapse. On January the 11th of this year was exactly 1 month. I'm sorry, 1 month and 2 days. I gave him 2 more days too. So I called him, and he answered his phone, and I asked him when the van was going to be fixed. It's been over a month. Well, needless to say, he proceeded to cuss me out, call me a bunch of names, and started screaming at me. I mean, the guy, I don't know what his problem is. I don't know if he's on drugs or if he's bipolar or both, But anyway, long story short, I hung up on him. And I decided right then and there, with my money or not, I was going to get the van, and I was going to take it somewhere else where it would be fixed properly and professionally, and without anything else happening to me like I just experienced with him. I decided to call the original record driver that I had towed before from Marcos to Romero's place. Well, and they showed up, after about 30, 40 minutes sitting where I agreed to meet them. They met me. But what I wanted to do additionally was have Harris County Sheriff Department meet me there with the wrecker, so they could both go with me to this guy's property in case there was anything go down. I mean, with this lunatic acting the way he did on the phone, and his sorry personality that I experienced in person before, I didn't want nothing to go down. Now, I am a concealed carry handgun carrier, but I chose not to take the gun with me for obvious reasons, and let the sheriff department, do their job. Well, that's not a problem. Harris County showed up. They were with me about 30, 40 minutes, and they informed me that this guy is not a stranger to them, that they have had to deal with him before, that he was a meth head, and he was a scammer, and I thought, dog, this is just great. I really outdid myself this time in choosing somebody to work on my van. And he said, so you're not the first one that's had problems with him, and you're not the first one we've had to accompany to his property. Well, okay. So while they were there, they got a call. They had to go take care of it. It was somebody that was evading the police, and they were the closest one there. So anyway, they left. Well, about 10 minutes later, the record driver shows up. I thought, great. Well, he's out there for about 10, 15 minutes. Of course, he couldn't stay very long because they're running a business too, so he had to leave. So I'm sitting there thinking, what the hell am I going to do now? Well, the Harris County deputies come back after they had to do what they had to do, and then we got talking, and they told me, said, well, we can get a record for you, so let's just go on over there. I said, great. I wish I'd known that before. Oh well. But anyway, we went over there, and I called Brian, let him know that I was coming over there to pick the van up, and I hung up. I didn't say no more to him because I didn't want to talk to him no more. I didn't want him to start cussing me out anymore like he did before. So we went over there, the Harris County Sheriff Department deputies and me. While we were there, they called a wrecker that they deal with, and the guy come over and picked it up, and away we went to the news shop. I don't mention the names of the companies for, obvious reasons on video. I think it's just, I want to keep them confidential for obvious reasons. But this shop, when we got over there yesterday afternoon, I was flabbergasted. This is the most beautiful automotive shop I've ever seen. They got 9 bays. The place is so clean, you could eat off the floors. And when I walked in there, you thought I was the President of the United States when I walked in there. They showed me so much respect. I was just blown away, to say the least. Anyway, we got everything set up, and they said they would let me know within 24 hours what they diagnosed, and we go from there. And I'm thinking, now this is the way a business should be run. So anyway, there's where we stand right now. I mean, I could add a lot to this video and a lot of fill in the middle of all these different shops, but I won't go into that. But hopefully, and with my prayers with God, that they'll get this last company where it's at now will get the van fixed and get me back on the road before I croak. Anyway, like I said, I just want to give y'all this update on the van. We'll see you in the next video. Bye now.